Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are jumping right into a role that's absolutely crucial for any successful organization, the internal auditor. You've landed at Audit Guidebook, and we're so glad you're here. This is the place where we break down the, let's face it, sometimes complicated world of audit and make it super clear, practical, and actually pretty engaging. Thanks for joining us. All right, so this explainer is part of our Module 1 series, which is all about those foundational concepts. It doesn't matter if you're a student just starting out, a brand new auditor, or even a seasoned pro who just wants a quick refresher, you are in exactly the right place. So let's get right to the heart of it. When you think of an internal auditor, what comes to mind? Maybe someone hunched over a desk, just checking off boxes? Well, I'm here to tell you the role is so much more strategic than that. So the big question is, what do they really do? Yeah, their core mission goes way, way beyond just checking stuff. It's really about being a strategic partner in the business, helping the whole organization hit its goals through a systematic and disciplined approach. Okay, so here's the textbook definition. It talks about being independent and objective, which are super important for sure. But the part you really want to lock in is this: to add value and improve an organization's operations. That is the whole game. They're there to provide both assurance and consulting to make the company stronger, literally from the inside out. So how do they actually add that value? Well, it all comes down to what we call the 3 pillars. Think of these as the legs of a stool that hold up the entire audit function: governance, risk, and control. This is the framework for pretty much everything they touch. First step, pillar number 1, governance. You can think of this as the company's rulebook and, honestly, its moral compass. Auditors are looking at things like the ethical culture. Is the tone at the top a good one? How are big decisions actually made? Is there a real formal process for approving a huge project, or is it all just happening on a handshake deal? They take what they find straight to the board to make sure everyone's held accountable. All right, pillar 2 is all about risk management. Let's be real, every business is swimming in risk every single day. We're talking about everything from cyber attacks to massive supply chain breakdowns. The auditor's job, it's to check how well the company is spotting these threats and, more importantly, handling them. They're the ones asking those tough what-if questions, like, hey, what's our plan B if our biggest supplier just disappears tomorrow? And that brings us to the 3rd and final pillar, internal control. These are basically the safeguards, the safety nets that protect the company. We're talking about stuff like needing 2 signatures to cut a big check, or having a password policy that actually works. Auditors come in and kick the tires on these controls to find any weak spots and suggest how to fix them before something bad happens. Okay, so we've got the what, governance, risk, and control. Now let's talk about the how. What does an audit actually look like in practice? It's not random. It's a really structured journey from planning all the way to follow-up. There are basically 4 main stages. First, you've got planning. This is where they figure out where the biggest risks are, so they can focus their energy where it matters most. Next up is fieldwork. This is the hands-on part, gathering evidence, testing things out. After all that digging, they move to reporting. And here's a crucial part. It's not over yet. The final stage is follow-up, where they circle back to make sure management actually fixed the problems. No loose end. Let's peek inside that audit report because it's the main deliverable, and it is so much more than just a list of gotchas. A good report has a quick summary for executives. It ranks the risks, high, medium, low, and it digs into the root cause of the problem. But here's the key. It doesn't just point fingers. It gives recommendations and includes management's own action plan for how they're going to fix it. It's basically a roadmap for getting better. The role of an auditor has changed a ton over the years. It used to be all about looking in the rearview mirror, finding what went wrong in the past. But today, the modern auditor is way more forward-looking. They're an advisor, a real partner to the business. And you can really see that evolution here. They're not just inspectors anymore. They act as advisors, giving tips on how to make processes better from the get-go. They're on the front lines of identifying fraud risks, and, of course, they help make sure the company is playing by all the rules. Seriously, they wear a lot of different hats. Now, this is a super, super important point to understand. Auditors provide advice, not decisions. At the end of the day, management is the one steering the ship. This separation is absolutely critical. It's what allows the auditor to stay objective and independent, and that's where all their credibility comes from. Okay, we've gone through a lot, so let's boil it all down to the key takeaways on what an auditor is responsible for. This table is a great little summary of everything we've talked about. You can see how it all connects, from looking at governance and risk to testing controls, actually doing the audit, writing the report, and giving that independent advice. It all comes together to create this function that really adds a ton of value. So, when you think about it, the internal auditor isn't just some watchdog hiding in the corner. Nope, they are a critical partner. By giving those objective insights and helping the company get better across the board, they're playing a huge part in making sure the organization doesn't just survive, but thrives. Hey, if you got something out of this explainer, do us a huge favor and hit that like button. And definitely subscribe to Audit Guidebook. That way you won't miss anything we put out in the future. And since this was part of Module 1, you should totally check out the full playlist. We've got a bunch more deep dives that cover all the core foundational stuff. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and remember our motto: learn, apply, advance. We'll see you in the next one.